to talk about her. Therefore, some of the research I made just an hour ago is on my phone, and that's what I'm using for Facebook Live. So I cannot read out that which I had put on my phone to read out. And it always happens to me here in this station. Nothing works, so I have to kind of do things to make it work. So I'm a bit cross. However, we cannot and should not carry on saying negative things about our own people, our own great people. If you want to talk and you want to join me, I'm sorry, I should have said that initially. My lines are open, and you can call me on 0203 735 8820 or 0203 286 0185. Call me if you have something to give about Mrs. Mandela, if you want to talk about her, if you want to share something, if you have any feelings about her, or if you're on my Facebook page, I have Facebook Live on, you can make comments and I'll try and read it at some point. Winnie Mandela was just 23 when she met Nelson Mandela at a bus station. She married him. He was an older man. He was already in a marriage, and yet they had a torrid affair. He eventually divorced his first wife and married her whilst he was still in hiding. He was coming in and out of hiding. And during his marriage to Mrs. Mandela, he had a lot of other affairs and got up to all sorts of things. I could give you names, but I won't, because it's all in the past now, and we're dealing with the death of a wonderful woman. And they had 2 children, and he eventually was arrested and taken to Robben Island. In all this time, while he was there, 27 years while he was incarcerated, Mrs. Mandela could have been like any other woman who would weep, try and carry on with her social work. She was a social worker. She would have done whatever she could to put food on the table for her children and just carried on with life. No, she didn't. Without any formal political education, Mrs. Mandela put herself out. She fought, she argued, she valiantly would not let the matter rest. She felt that apartheid was an evil thing. She believed in her husband's cause to end apartheid. She believed in her beloved South Africa. She believed that South Africa belonged to them. It had been taken over, and therefore Nelson was right in whatever his cases and charges were, and he had to be released. 27 years it took to get Nelson Mandela out. In that time, a lot of things happened to Mrs. Mandela. And I cannot even, it's on my phone, and I'm very distressed that I cannot read the whole thing about what happened to her. But I'll tell you something, whilst I'm looking for that information. Some men felt that she was openly defiant. Some men felt that Mrs. Mandela had been, because by the time he came out she was having an affair with somebody, that she should be denigrated for that, and it should be discussed at length and dissected, which I don't think it should have been. Some people thought that she was, because she was arrested for the death of Stumpy, the little child, 14-year-old, who was attacked, tortured, and killed by some members of her group, the people who had surrounded her and continually followed her. She had this group, Mandela Football Club, that she deserved every abuse and disrespect that was being meted to her at this time in her death. She has not even been buried yet. There is a proverb which says, until the lion begins to tell its story, the hunter will always give us his version. We are the lions. We, black people, Africans, we are the lions. And we continually lie down and allow the bloody hunter to tell us what our story is. And then we repeat it. We repeat it? What is wrong with us? Why do we do this? Mrs. Mandela is one of us. And when I see women on social media repeat what the white man is saying, repeat what the oppressor is saying, I despair. We really should learn that this is not the way it should go in the future. Mrs. Mandela did what Napoleon could not do. Mrs. Mandela did what men could not do. The ANC could not do. They didn't do it. They didn't fight. They were not imprisoned for Nelson, who then came out and the ANC embraced her and then they made him their president. What would they have done had she not fought this way? What would they have done if, when she was arrested once, she just sat down and folded her arms and said, this is too much, I can't cope? This is a woman who, there was once she was arrested, she was alone with her children in her house. And when she asked the people, the police, and the people who had come to arrest her, if she could call her sister who lived on the other side of the road to come and look after her children, otherwise they would be alone in the house. They didn't allow her to. So she was taken away and her children were left in the house. Mrs. Mandela was in prison. She was tortured. She was refused sanitary towels. She was refused anything of comfort. There were days when they would let her walk about naked. Not her will. They were bullying her so that they were punishing her, so that they would break her will. This woman was sometimes, she had her menstrual flow was caked onto her skin because of this. It was in her clothes because of this. What kind of torture is this? To a woman, a mother. And yet it did not stop her. Do you guys who talk about her so horribly, do you know what she has suffered? Would you be able to go through one day of her suffering, separated from her children, ostracized from her family and friends and what she knows? I forgive you all for your nastiness. And I wish you live in interesting times, because this is just so bad. Today is a sad day, and today is a sad day, but today is a lesson for anyone out there who's listening. The school that I attended when I was a child, Quaitri Agri, said, and this was one of our mottos, that you educate a man and you educate an individual. You educate a woman and you educate a community. I wish that all women out there who listen to this show, this is a 1-hour show, and there's not even enough time to talk about Mrs. Mandela. But in this 1 hour, I wish that whatever you hear that you didn't know before, teach it to your daughters. Teach it to your nieces. Teach it to anyone who is interested to listen. That there was once a woman in Africa who did an amazing thing. And her name was Winnie Mandela. I shall play some music, and when I come back, we shall talk some more. Because of the internet issue, can I have the iPad and see whether I can find my thing that I had in there?
was actually watching you on Facebook.
Sorry?
I was watching you on Facebook.
Yeah, you're watching it from my phone.
Really?
It's not working on the iPad, but I've got so much information on my iPad.
Okay.
So I can't, it's just bothering me.
I'm trying to make sure this works for you to have a show.
I know, but...
So that later you come and deal with them.
I will. You know me already.
Yeah, I know. I just have to... But when I connected first, it worked, right? It never worked. You should have come back to me.
Because I had to start recording the show.
Okay.
Welcome back. We're discussing Winnie Mandela. We are talking about our thoughts about her. I'm sharing my thoughts with you. And I'm hoping that anyone who's listening to this show will talk to their children about it, will remind them. I am hoping that we write our own story about Winnie Mandela, because she did a lot of things that nobody could have just spent one day in her life. If we talk about a woman who has suffered deeply, whose suffering has never been addressed, this is Winnie Mandela. I have somebody who's written something, and I'm going to read it to you. Her name is T. Maggie, and she says, Winnie Mandela, you did what was expected, and for you and for your country. Whatever the case was, you helped in the fight for Mr. Mandela to come out of prison, to be the first African to be the president of your dear motherland. May God richly bless you and rest in perfect peace. That was from T. Maggie.
I have comments here as well.
I have a few comments as well on Facebook, but I'm using my phone, and so I'm sorry, I can't read your comments unless someone calls me. The number is 0203 735 8820, 0203 735 8820, or 0203 286 0185. Years after Mrs. Mandela's divorce, 2 years after or so, somebody asked her, why did you not fight for your marriage, and why you would have been the first lady of South Africa? And she said, I am not a woman who was brought up to become an ornament for other people to look at. I am a fighter, and I have views, and if I am the first lady, I will not be able to project my views. That is a woman, a strong woman, who, with all of that in her life, if you've already taken her husband 27 years, she found love or excitement elsewhere. Why are you asking her that question now? Why are you asking her that question when a whole host of men have managed to help Nelson divorce her for their own selfish reasons? Somebody else said that Mandela accused Winnie of impropriety. Now, is that so? This is a man who continually was having affairs with women. Even while he was in prison, Nelson Mandela was writing love letters to other women. When he came out, while he was still married to Winnie, he was consorting with people like Graca Machel, Samora Machel's widow. And then when they divorced, it wasn't, I don't know how long it was, quickly he married her. What do men really want from women? I'm going to talk about infidelity next week, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to try to find out why women have affairs. And I'm going to try and find out from you as well, because I'm going to put it out on Facebook. People don't like calling in or coming in to talk on radio because they feel that people will see them because of social media and the fact that all our shows are projected on air. So that's fine. But a lot of people can, they always make comments on Facebook. So I'm going to, put it out there for people to tell me why. And I need to find out why people do certain things. There are a lot of women out there who are unhappy in their marriages. They do not say anything. They're so afraid of what society will think, what this person is going to say. So they don't move forward. Well, let me tell you, nothing deterred Mrs. Mandela from what she was focused to do. But always remember that Mrs. Mandela was a full-blooded human being, one of the most beautiful women of Africa. Look at her photos. Go on the internet. Check out her photos. See the sort of person that she is. And tell me that this person should hide under a bushel. What kind of nonsense is that? How dare you men out there make comments about Mrs. Mandela? How dare you? How many men out there would even fight for their wives if they were in prison at the level at which Mrs. Mandela fought for this man? A woman who was so punished just because she dared to fight for her husband to come out of prison because she thought that he did not deserve his punishment. Somebody said on Facebook that they felt that his manhood was threatened. Threatened in what way? This is a man who was happy to share his manhood when he was out of prison, or before he went into prison. This is a man whose manhood has never been in question. Why would someone say that his manhood was threatened? I don't understand this. I will never understand the way a man's mind works in situations against women. Winnie Mandela is someone who, if you do not know about her, I urge you to go and do some research on her. I urge you guys to educate yourselves before you come on the internet and say nasty things about her. I want to read something about her to you, which is on my iPad, and which I am now managing to find. And I need you all to realize that you have got the wrong end of the stick. Mrs. Mandela is somebody who we should be praying for her soul. Mrs. Mandela is somebody who we should be grateful for. Mrs. Mandela is somebody who we should introduce our children to her story. If you want your child to be strong in mind, in purpose, please find stories about Winnie Mandela and teach them to her. The British will talk about Bodicea. The British will tell you about women who have done things for them. What have you Africans got? Who have you got in your history that you can talk about? In my country, Ghana, we have our Yasantuas. We have our women warriors. That is why I am so proud to be a Ghanaian. Our history is not speckled with other people from other countries. No! Our history is speckled with great women who have done great things, who have fought for their tribes, their nation. South Africa and all the other countries of Africa should come together and realize that we have to tell our own story. Mrs. Mandela once said that I had so little time to love Nelson, and that love has survived all these years of separation. Perhaps if I had had time to know him better, I might have found a lot of faults, but I only had time to love him and long for him all the time. This is so emotional. This is somebody who was denied the life and love that you people out there get. This is somebody who, notwithstanding her loss, she fought to get him back. Mrs. Mandela sacrificed her health so that her generation could dream. She sacrificed her family so that other defenseless families and orphans could live to see another day. Mrs. Mandela sacrificed her children so that children across South Africa, and in fact the whole of Africa, could have hope. What have any of you sacrificed? What have you sacrificed? Women continually go through hoops. We should not let people who do not understand the hoops we go through, ever, ever, ever speak. I know that some people may think today I'm in a bad mood. I'm not. I'm just sad. I am sad that we have allowed all of these things to happen. And then when we see the end result, we still do not exalt it. We do not exalt this woman. How dare people abuse her? How dare people say things that they do not know about? How dare people talk about her infidelities or indiscretions? How dare you even dare to think negative about Mrs. Mandela? Today is a sad day, and today we are trying very hard to deal with an issue that we may not understand. We may not understand the depth of what this woman has gone through. I've actually found what I wanted to read to you. A lady wrote a piece, a lady called Charlene Smith wrote a beautiful piece about Mrs. Mandela. She met her, she interviewed her, she met her from 1976. She interviewed her. She describes her as the most beautiful woman she'd ever seen, tall, imperious, and with a gorgeous deep voice and a low, sexy laugh. This woman is now dead. And the things that she has gone through, if she was that beautiful, she could have divorced Nelson Mandela, let him languish in that prison, and married somebody else and got on with her life. After all, if she'd gone halfway with all of this, she knew mega presidents, she knew presidents in America, all over the African continent. She knew quite a lot of people that she could have spent time with. She could have married somebody, a rich businessman, some rich American, and gone on with her life. But she stayed true to her course. People have gossiped about her. Even people like, let me find it, like Mr. Sisulu. He has said things about her that were unsavory. But you see, if you know someone and you call that person your friend, and then you come out and talk negatively about her, what kind of friend are you? It just makes you seem like a bitter and twisted person. Another issue which we do not know about, that we really should know about, is that Mrs. Mandela is the conscience of a nation that has already forgotten the tragedy of apartheid history. We've all forgotten the deep and dark side of apartheid. We have forgotten how South Africans went through hell, how they would be killed, watered with water sprays and rubber bullets, how people have suffered. We've forgotten, because I guess human beings are resilient. You have forgotten the suffering that South Africans went through. Even in her death, people do not realize that this woman has suffered, how deeply she suffered, how damaged she must have become, and how it hurt her and those who cared for her most. Has anyone considered how her children have grown up realizing the kind of arrest mother, release her, arrest mother, release her, the thing she has gone through? Do any of you know what the deep crying she must have gone through in her life. Do you know? How dare you say negative things about a woman who has suffered an amount that your mothers and sisters have never gone through? How dare you? When I hear people, especially these horrible, horrible politicians, or people who think they know politics and spend all their time on social media discussing politics of other countries, who do not even know what they're talking about, when they skim on the surface without going deep to find out what the person was thinking, the despair and yet determination, I say, how dare you? How dare you? Look, I will always mourn Mrs. Mandela. I respect strong women, women who amount to something, women who know pain, and women who try to save other women from this pain. Today is a sad day, and I am sharing this sadness with you. Somebody on social media shocked me, a woman who seems to think she knows. I've got a caller, I think, so I'm going to answer that call. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Oh, I've lost the caller now. Who thinks they know what they're talking about when they don't know jack? Oh, I may have the caller on. Is there a headphone? Well, I've lost the caller. Sorry. But the thing is, today, I'm not even angry. I'm just sad. Because if I don't share with you the wrongs of this world, if I do not share with you what I think about Mrs. Mandela in this time, in this dark and terrible time, and if you guys do not understand that if we allow other people to tell our stories in their warped and horrible way, that is supposed to be right? No, it is not right. Somebody has to speak the truth. We do not stand on rooftops to shout.
What's the number?
The number is 0203 735 8820 or 0203 286 0185. One of the numbers doesn't seem to be working because I've had a call. And so try the other one, 0203 735 8820. And I'll answer it. But we need to learn. We need to understand that our story must be told by us. And we should not repeat the story being told by other people. It just doesn't work. It does not work. Tell the story as you know it. If you do not know it, research it. Find a storyteller who knows what he's talking about or she's talking about. Don't repeat nasty things about Mrs. Winnie Mandela. It is unacceptable. It is vile. You are wrecking your own history, and you should be ashamed of yourself. This program is going to be put out there, and it's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be all over the place. And I want Africans to watch it, listen to it, educate yourself, and think deeply about the things we keep repeating. How can you be sitting in Africa and Mrs. Mandela is with you in Africa and you repeat what someone is saying from Europe? What is wrong with us? Look, this should end. This should stop. And this is unacceptable. If you do not respect your fellow man, do you think that someone from somewhere else is going to respect you? What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? And you guys who think that you know, or you are political pundits and you know the stories of the ANC, really? You are sitting in Ghana or Europe or somewhere and you know what happened in the ANC? What is wrong with you people? Okay, let us look at it this way. I am very sad. I am not angry. I am very sad. And I'm sad because we are in trying and troubling times. Mrs. Mandela has passed away. We have a habit of only telling the story after the person is dead and only repeating what someone else alleges to know. Don't do it. It is unacceptable and it is wrong. Today, there are no headphones in this place. Today, the internet is not working. Today, all sorts of bad things are happening. And my show is about to end. I have 6 minutes. In these 6 minutes, I know that people are trying to call, but I can't deal, I don't know. Let me try again and see. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Well, I can't hear you. Unfortunately, I can't. I don't know. It's very difficult to hear. It's gone off. Call has gone. So, that's it. But I, you know, a woman of 23 marrying an older married, you know, meeting an older married guy, marrying him, only spending about 4 years with him, going through hell, coming out of it, and accepting that this was not, the whole story was not correct, and then after all that she went through for him, she was just put on the scrap heap. Some people refuse to accept that she was put on the scrap heap, but I think she was. And in the end, years have passed. He's married somebody else, and she has died. I think it is time for us to shut our mouths and just mourn the dear lady. Be grateful for her, for how she changed South Africa. Because of Mrs. Mandela, you guys in all the countries of Africa can go to South Africa for your medical treatment. Because of Mrs. Mandela, you can go for holiday in South Africa without being attacked or by the police or asked for your passbook or all of these things. Because of Mrs. Mandela, yes, there are now very affluent black people in South Africa, which was totally unheard of. Because of Mrs. Mandela, we can travel around and proudly say, oh, I went to South Africa for my honeymoon. Because of Mrs. Mandela, a lot of you have done a lot of things that you never imagined in that African continent. I urge you to think deeply before you say anything rude or denigrating about Mrs. Mandela. And if I hear you or if I see it on the internet, I will challenge you and I will be abusive and rude. And I want you to know that whatever your reasons are, think before you speak. I'm going to play the last bit of music. What I played before I started talking so much was from a worship, and it says, we have faith. And that's the song. And I'm going to try and look for another kind of good music that would give credit to the passing of Mrs. Mandela. I'm very sad today. It's a sad day. I'm going through a lot of sadness. my cousin passed away. She was also a good woman, and she was also. I'm going to play something from Hillsong, Praise and Worship, and if I do not come back on, it's because my hour is up, and I wish you all well. And until next week, where we may be able to talk about something much more fun. Hopefully the telephone lines will work, the internet will be on, so I can refer to my, maybe I should have printed the stuff out instead of leaving it on my iPad. Greetings to you all. I'm glad that people listen and watch. It is good. If you have different views from me and you feel like you want to challenge me, then I'm grateful that the internet is not working so we couldn't speak. If you had good things to say and agreed with me, then thank you. That is how it should be. Life is hard, and we should try and dwell on good things in life. We should try as much as possible to be appreciative even when somebody does something small. Therefore, if we have someone who's done a lot, we should appreciate it. What Mrs. Mandela went through, none of you could have done it. Now the music refuses to play. So, I don't know. I'm having a bad day, I think. Am I not? Am I not having a bad day?
I see